Hello, everybody. It is the start to a new readathon. Spookathon just started. It started yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to vlog and check in with you guys. Yesterday was Monday, and so I did my usual 9 to 2 at job number 1. But before going into work, I had said in my Hocus Pocus readathon vlog that my husband had gotten into a car accident and we needed to get the car looked at. And so that's what we did Monday morning. Thankfully, it was still drivable and we drove it to the mechanic. And the car rental place was very good. They met us at the mechanic and then we just drove to work from there. Now that we had a car, I was able to finish the rest of our grocery shopping because in previous readathon vlog, I did say, hey, since we don't have a car, I did have to do the majority of my shopping at a local CVS because it was right next to a train stop. So there were obviously a couple of things that you can't get at a CVS, like meat, spreads, stuff like that. So my pantry is now full. I won't starve. Everyone's okay. No one was hurt in the car accident. So a little dramatic start to the week, but we're all fine. I started reading Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo yesterday, and now that I've started reading it, I wasn't entirely sure if it would count towards I want to see the set in a spooky setting, but now that I've started reading it, it totally does count for that. I'm not loving it so far, actually. It starts off with this girl, Alex. She's our main character. She's able to see ghosts, which she calls the Greys. Something happens to where she actually gets recruited for the society at Yale. So her cover is she's supposed to attend school at Yale, but go to the society thing at night. And it kind of just drops you off right at somebody's death, and she has to go investigate it. And she starts talking about things that I have no idea what she's talking about. She's talking about stuff that's like stuff she's already learned, and I feel so out of the loop and so out of my element. It got to the point where it was genuinely peeving me off. And then the second chapter was like a flashback to where she met her mentor, which is Darlington. I think that's his name. And I guess these flashbacks are where it's sort of like explaining things. So now I'm not as angry, but I don't like that I feel like that I need to keep up rather than like being taught what's happening. With world building and fantasy novels, if I don't know what's happening, I'm going to lose interest really quickly, and I'm worried that might happen with this book. But that's all I've read so far. I'm listening to Ninth House on audiobook, so I was actually concerned that what was happening in that first chapter, that maybe I just missed something, but no, it's the style of the book. So I listened to it yesterday and I listened to it today, so I'm about maybe a fifth of the way through the book now, quarter of the way through. I'm not very far into it. I brought that Lovecraft graphic novel to read at work tonight because since it is Tuesday, on Tuesdays I work a double. I work at job number 1 in the morning and job number 2 in the evening. That graphic novel to kind of like thumb through while at work tonight. I also brought a couple of plays to read. I actually have an audition for a local theater company, and there's no sides or anything to prepare for. It's actually cold reading auditions. Basically, you show up, they give you the sides, and you're expected to kind of perform on the spot. And I don't do well with those if I don't know what's happening in the story. So I bought the plays. I couldn't find them at my library, so I ended up buying them. And since the audition is Friday, I should really read these plays. So that is my goal first tonight, read the plays, and then if there's time, read that Lovecraft comic book that I talked about in my Spookathon TBR video. These plays won't be able to count towards any of the challenges, but your girl still gotta read them. Hello everybody, so it is pretty late on a Thursday night. It's been a couple days since I last checked in. Trying to think what I've read. It's been so long. With Ninth House, still not loving it. Maybe a third of the way at this point. I'm listening to an audiobook on CD because I got that through the library, and there's 13 CDs and I'm on the 4th CD now, which is why I'm kind of hesitant on where I am, but that's roughly where I am in this audiobook. I mean, the overall concept is cool. I'm just not wowed by it right now. And I think it's because I'm not really being told what the rules are of this magical world. It keeps flipping through between... God, why am I spacing on her name? Alex and Darlington. It keeps flipping through their perspective. With Alex's perspective, it's present day. I guess we're going to call it present day. She's in college, she's investigating a murder, and then it goes to Darlington's chapter, which is few weeks before then this murder has taken place. And Darlington has not been seen for a while in Alex's timeline. And I think it keeps flipping back and forth like this because we're going to find out in this long way around sort of way where Darlington is. That I'm okay with. That is vaguely interesting to me. But what I don't like is Darlington's timeline. She's being taught what the society is. In the next chapter, she's been in this society for a while now. So I feel like I'm not being told what the rules are of this society, and I feel like I'm missing information. And I think that's what's vaguely taking me out of this book. Since I've checked in, I did actually read those 2 plays that I said I was going to read Tuesday night at work. Boom by Peterson Nitrub. I know for a fact I'm not pronouncing it right, and that's because, one, I don't even know what the last name is, but the play is called Boom. It actually takes place in this post-apocalyptic sort of world. It's kind of like a dark, funny, bizarre version of the Truman Show sort of thing. If you guys are familiar with that movie, where Jim Carrey plays a character where all of his life he's been continuously watched. Boom has the same concept. There's these 2 characters spacing on their names. Alright, I'm getting the play. Oh, so I was pretty close with his last name. Peterson Nachtrieb. Can you see that? And what are these characters' names again? Joe and Jules. And then there's a 3rd character, Barbara. Jules is a grad student who believes that the world is ending. He sees all these different tips through like watching the fish. He sees how this fish are behaving, and he says they're scared of something, and the only thing I can think of that they're scared of is the comet's coming down and it's going to just destroy Earth. And so he has the plan of creating this bunker type thing, and then he puts in an ad that basically tricks Joe into coming to this bunker place. The ad is basically making it seem like he's just interested in a one-night stand. It's one of those like personal ads. And Joe, who's writing a paper on trying to find happiness in unlikely places, answers the ad. Now, Barbara is like this 3rd character. She runs this museum, and unbeknownst to Joe and Jules, they're actually part of the exhibit. Barbara is behaving as like, okay, these are the start of our ancestors. This is like this entire story. And she can control how Joe and Jules behave. It was bizarre but funny, like I've said already. And like the commentary in the dialogue was very funny. Because when I say it's dark, it got real dark. Like when the world ends, because Jules was actually right, he tries to trick Joe into becoming pregnant. He doesn't try to rape her. He just like sets up booby traps to try to get her pregnant. Like a baster at one point, like he like booby traps the toilet at another point. And so to me, that doesn't quite sit right. And he has no interest in actually having sex with her because he's gay. And once Joe finds out that he's gay, she calls him an FAG. And she doesn't call him that once, she calls him that a handful of times. So I don't like that either. But it tells me what these characters are like. This definitely is more absurdist humor, but I think the author went a little too far with the absurdist humor. So as of right now, on Goodreads, it's rated 4 out of 5 stars. But I don't think I'm going to rate it that. It did make me laugh out loud, but it was just so unsettling that I don't think I'm going to rate it 4 out of 5 stars. But maybe that's the point. See, I'm conflicted about it. I'm still thinking about it. The next play, The Last Wife by Kate Henning, that's another play that I had to read for the audition that's coming up, which is tomorrow. It's actually like a feminist sort of retelling of King Henry VIII and the last wife, Catherine Parr. And I found it really intriguing. I like the idea of incorporating feminism in this story that we know of. We don't know exactly how these 2 characters interacted with, but it was really interesting, this take of it. I rated it 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I wasn't necessarily wowed by this story either, but it was definitely interesting. It's so late in this readathon that I'm going to have to make them fit in one of these challenges. I think I'm going to use Boom as read a book with a spooky setting, There's nothing spookier than, a bunker post-apocalyptic world, because that is really spooky. And I think I want to make that count for that, and then have the ninth house count for something else. I don't know what I'm going to make the last wife fit. Maybe, spooky word in the title, like last wife. That is rather daunting and rather ominous, like just that phrase, the last wife. I'm gonna think about that, and definitely gonna be splitting hairs by the end of this readathon. And I didn't do a whole lot of reading, actually. Like, I think today was the first day I finally sat down to read, only because work has been very stressful. At job number 2 at the public library, we've been having scheduling issues. There's an issue with HR that basically a part-time person got benefited. However, part-time people are not allowed to be benefited. So in order to not be benefited, we're not allowed to work more than 19 and a half hours a week, because the town law says if we work 20 or more hours, you're allowed benefits. So of course, HR makes sure we don't work more than 19 and a half hours. Someone had slipped through the cracks though, and now they're benefited, and now they're real mad. Like, they basically put their foot down and said, you cannot work more than 16 hours. If you're working an extra day on a Sunday because we need you to come in Sunday, you're losing a regular day. And so we obviously need people to still come in on the weekends. So we've been losing people during the week. And it's been real busy because we're understaffed. They've recently they just had a meeting allowing us to work up to 19 hours again. But basically, my usual schedule for the week is 16 hours at this job. I occasionally still have to come in and do a Sunday because we all have to do X amount of Sundays. If I come in to do Sunday, I lose, because the Sunday shift is 4 hours. If I come in on Sunday, I'm going to have to arrive early, or later on another day to avoid going over 19 hours. So it's just been convoluted. And today, at job number 1, at the small corporate special library that I work for, it rained a lot last night. And different places had different levels of damage. I come into work this morning, and the roof was leaking. There was just so much water damage. I had a vase, a pie tin, a bowl, 3 buckets out just to collect all the random drops of water that was happening all day. It did not let up. It just dripped all day. And it wasn't until lunchtime that I finally had things sorted enough where I can actually do my work for the day. When I left, it still wasn't fixed. They kept having people come in and out to look at the damage, and that person went, well, I can't do anything, let me get the next person. And that second person came in, well, I can't do anything about this either. I had a third person, and this third person was actually the landlord for the building. It was like, all right, I'm going to call a guy, someone who's a roofer. He's going to get on the roof and see what the issue is. Basically, how the air conditioner vents are set up, there's a vent on the outside of the building, and if the rain comes in sideways, it comes in through the vent, and if the winds are strong enough, they will push that water through the vent, and my office is right underneath that. So a lot of water had come in over the night, and so what they're trying to do now is put a flap of some sort over that vent so we can still have air conditioning and access to the heat, but no water coming in. So that's what they were working on when I left today. It's been stressful enough where I got my butt to the gym today just so I can just burn off that excess anxiety or energy or whatever you want to call it, And it's been quite a while since I've been to the gym. My feet have been hurting me a lot due to my plantar fasciitis, but I made it to the gym today and I feel so much better. I felt better enough where I actually read this book here. I actually finished something for my TBR today, and that is Lock and Key, Welcome to Lovecraft by Joe Hill and illustrated by Gabriel Rodriguez. This is actually supposed to count for something that I don't normally read. I thought this was more actually tied to Lovecraft himself, but it's definitely more of the same vibe as Lovecraft, but not necessarily Lovecraft. Lovecraft in this is actually the name of a town, and it's set in Massachusetts. Like I said in my TBR video, all these spooky books rather, tend to be set in New England. And again, this was one that was interesting. I liked it, I just wasn't wowed by it. I liked the overall art style. The art style was interesting enough. And I liked how at certain parts it was unsettling. because it being unsettling gives you that vibe that you're looking for in a horror comic book. Basically, this family, they moved to Lovecraft because this kid murdered the dad. The dad is a guidance counselor in a high school. The kid is one of his students, and the kid goes to the house looking for a key. When the dad won't give up the key, the kid kills the dad, and the rest of the family just barely escape with their lives, and they move to Lovecraft. This kid escapes the juvenile detention center to find them at this new place. We see that this kid is looking for this key because the ghost at the house that they're moving in now is looking to escape this well, and she needs the key in order to do it, which is why she started influencing this random kid. And basically, even though the concept is cool, and I think now that I'm explaining it, I think the story was just a little on the convoluted side. Like, there was just a lot of reaches happening, and I would have preferred, I don't know, just a tighter knit story. Because when this family finally moves to this new place, the little boy finds the ghost, and then she starts manipulating him. But in the end, doesn't necessarily use the boy, so it's just a lot happened in this. A lot happened without a whole lot of explanation. Because there's a lot that still needs to be explained, and I, of course, understand they'll be explained in later novels, but not enough was explained in this one. So yeah, so this was another one that was rated 3 out of 5 stars. Hello everybody. So it has been a couple of days since I last checked in. The last time I checked in, it was Friday. I was working a morning shift instead of an afternoon shift because I had an audition, which I rocked, by the way. I was really pleased how it went. I haven't heard anything since. I'm under the suspicion that I did not get it. I figured that would be the case because as a non-union person, they have to pick a union person above me since it was a union audition. If they preferred me over all the union people, then they would have to go through the extra mile to be allowed to hire me. And if they liked me and another person equally, then it was a higher chance that they were going to go with the union person anyways. So I still, again, I haven't heard anything, but I don't think I got it. But it was a really fun experience, and I'm glad that I did really well on it. Saturday came and went. I didn't work Saturday. I normally work a shift at the main branch of the public library I work at, but unfortunately, due to the hassle at work right now that's happening with everyone's schedules, I was scheduled to work Sunday, which means until everything gets, taken care of with this scheduling issue, I've lost one of my regular days, so I can work Sunday. I mean, it worked out. I got to go apple picking, which was great. I really wanted to do that before the season was over, and it looked like I wasn't going to be able to, but when my day off came up, I took it and went apple picking. What's the llama with you? I also was then going to go to the Boston Book Festival. Instead of going to the Boston Book Festival, it was my friend's birthday thing. We got invited last minute, like, hey, we're actually going to go to this nearby arcade. We're going to play some games. And then we're also going to do this rope thing. And so I was like, all right, so I can't do both, and I'd rather hang out with my friend. Because if I was going to go to the Boston Book Festival, I would have gone by myself. And these book festivals are fun, but they're not as fun when you go by yourself. I enjoyed hanging out with my friends more than going to the Boston Book Festival. The birthday thing happened later that night, so I was able to read The Ninth House a little bit more. I did not finish by the end of this readathon. At work for a little bit on Sunday, I did continue listening to it as an audiobook, but even by the end of day Sunday, I still had maybe 150 pages left of this book, so I did not complete this book, and this was actually the only book I read this week that could have counted for read a thriller, so unfortunately, I did not finish that challenge. I was able to use the 2 plays that I read to count for some of these challenges, because honestly, I didn't read anything else this week. My life was just too busy. The Welcome to Lovecraft, that comic book, it had red on the cover, so it counted for that challenge. A book with a spooky setting, creepy house, definitely very spooky. spooky word in the title, which was Lovecraft, because Lovecraft, you see Lovecraft and you automatically think of horror, and a book outside of my comfort zone. I don't normally read horror. I actually only really save horror and anything spooky around this time of year, but that's not necessarily my go-to. So this one book actually counted for the rest of my challenges. But the other two plays, well, that's not a play, that was a graphic novel, but the other two books I read this week was the two plays that I read for this audition. The Last Wife, and of course I didn't write down the author, and Boom. Boom, I think, took place in a spooky setting. This took place in a doomsday sort of world, like the world died and these two people were stuck in an underground bunker. That is sort of spooky, and it was outside of my comfort zone because I don't necessarily read plays. I should, as an actor, I should definitely read more plays. But yeah, that's everything that I read for this week. I did my best for this readathon, but to me this felt like sort of a fail. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to really share with you guys for this video. I'm just hanging out before work. I think before my shift starts, I'll actually continue to read The Ninth House. I see myself finishing it this week. I'm almost done. I'm within 150 pages. I mean, at least I was on Sunday, and I've read more since. But I don't see me rating this any higher than 3.5 stars. Well, I'll stop rambling, and I guess I'll leave you guys. Let me know down in the comments about what are your thoughts on some of these books, if you've read them. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I guess it's ta-ta for now. Bye, guys.